thank you both. Pnawn da, Nghynhadledd, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to have the chance to address you in our conference in Caernarfon, and I'm proud to be flying the flag for Plaid Cymru in the great constituency of Blaenau Gwent. And you know, like many of our valleys communities, Blaenau Gwent often hits the headlines for all the wrong reasons. We've got high levels of ill health, high levels of unemployment, and we suffer from low income. That's the legacy of our intentional deindustrialization. And let no one be in any doubt that the dismantling of our industrial base was intentional. Having extracted all of our natural resources, the UK governments, successive UK governments, left our people in social and economic despair. That was a choice Westminster made, and they made it consciously. Today, Blaenau Gwent has among the highest levels of youth unemployment rates in the whole of the United Kingdom. Shame on the London parties for not just robbing our forebears of a livelihood, but by giving our children an inheritance of poverty. There's nothing, though, that's inevitable about Blaenau Gwent. Just like our nation, our future as a constituency and as a country is there for us to shape. We no longer have to place our destiny in the hands of those whose interests are incompatible with our hopes. I know that the best days for Blaenau Gwent lie ahead of it. Why am I so sure of this? Well, you only have to look at the contribution Blaenau Gwent has made to our country and to society over several years. The greatest social contribution in European history was made by the workers of Tredegar, who came together in solidarity to share and ease the costs and risks of ill health. That simple concept grew to become the National Health Service that we all cherish today. And you know, in his usual Gwent way of understating, Aneurin Bevan said when he unveiled plans for the National Health Service that all he was doing was Tredegarizing the world. Conference, it's our duty today, as the inheritors of that National Health Service, to safeguard and strengthen it, not only as a tribute to its founders, but because the people of this country need and deserve a modern, free health service in public hands, serving the public interest. And you know, Conference, isn't it high time that we took the future of our health service out of the tired hands of a Labour government that is incapable and unwilling to deliver for Welsh patients today? In Blaenau Gwent, the birthplace of the NHS, up to half of the GPs are expected to retire in the coming years. And you know, when Plaid Cymru unveiled plans to recruit and train additional doctors, to bring the number of physicians in Wales to the UK average per head, it's telling that Labour decided to play politics, to deride our plans and deny a secure future for GP services. Conference, the peril facing our health service today is a lack of vision on the part of the current government. With an ageing population and with more complex conditions requiring new approaches, investing in primary healthcare especially is vital. You know, it's telling that when the Scottish Government announced £40 million for primary healthcare development, the Welsh Government equivalent was just £3.5 million. Very short-sighted. But it's time, as a nation, that we invested seriously in research and development in our primary healthcare for our future. And just as Blaenau Gwent pioneered socialised medicine in the last century, in this century, Blaenau Gwent can pioneer research and development in primary healthcare alongside our higher education institutions. And so, Conference, when Elin Jones becomes the Welsh Health Minister next year, I'm giving advance notice that I'll be lobbying her as the Member of Parliament for Blaenau Gwent to become the home and the centre of excellence for Wales's R&D in primary care. You know, Blaenau Gwent's radical tradition is well renowned, not only in the socialised medicine and that tradition, but of course in such events like the Chartist Rising. But a lesser known fact about our radical tradition maybe is The resistance that we've upheld over years against punitive, cruel cuts in social protection, in welfare for the poor and the unemployed and the sick. Almost 88 years ago to the day, the Guardians of Bydwellty, whose duty it was to provide welfare for the unemployed and the ill, they were disbanded by a Westminster government because their care for local people was deemed too extravagant. The people of Bydwellty refused to implement the savage cuts to welfare on behalf of a heartless British state. They were abolished by the London government and replaced by a commission of Whitehall civil servants who inflicted unspeakable pain upon our communities. Those local guardians, democratically elected by the people, preferred to mount up debt than confine the needy to destitution. They stood up to Westminster. They gave voice to people who didn't have a voice. It is a radical tradition I am proud to be a part of. Today's Wales, today's Blaenau Gwent needs new radicals, a new generation willing to fight our corner and to uphold our values of solidarity and compassion. And Blaenau Gwent and Wales have that option on May the 7th. Plaid Cymru inherits the mantle of progressive politics from our forebears. This party stands against austerity and in favour of rebalancing power and wealth throughout the nation and to all communities. We're a party that refuses to balance the books on the backs of the poor. And you know, in Blaenau Gwent's long tradition, and indeed the tradition of the valleys in our development through the last industrial revolution, was the contribution made by those who came from all over these islands and indeed from across Europe to work in our heavy industries. They came from far and wide in search of new opportunities in Wales's booming industries. From England especially to the valleys of Gwent, people came, and alongside locals, they helped build the miners' institutes, the libraries, the chapels, and the shared social protection schemes. Their identity may have been different, but together they shared with local people a common citizenship, and that is a lesson for us today. As an inclusive party, aiming to build a successful, inclusive, independent country, we stand to build a new Welsh citizenship for this century. That Welsh citizenship, open to all who live here, regardless of where you're from, regardless of your identity or nationality. We are all equal in this country. All of us have a stake in building a new society and a new nation that reflects our shared goals. And conference, that's really what's very exciting about the coming period in Welsh politics. As we emerge from the shadows as a self-governing nation, we can tear down those barriers of division. We can rebuild our cherished public services and our valued welfare state. You know, I'm a historian myself by training, and I take a great deal of pleasure in looking and learning about our past. But in a few months, I'm due to become a father for the first time, and that's... You can clap, I'm terrified. But you know, that's made me think an awful lot more about our future rather than our past. What inheritance will there be for the next generation? What accomplishments will that generation look back upon and mark out as decisive points in the course of our country? Friends, all of that is in our hands now. Many of us took great inspiration from the referendum in Scotland last year. And you know what an inspiration that was. But as much as we can find inspiration from the accomplishments of others, we will thrive as a movement and as a nation only when we find our own path, when we inspire one another, and when we come together to resolve to build a new society in a new state. We're going to walk that path together, north and south, local and newcomer, together as one Wales towards the free Wales. I know that it's traditional for politicians, for candidates ahead of an election, to make a long list of promises to their party and to the electors that they seek to represent. I'm not going to give Plaid Cymru a long list of promises, and I'm not going to give the people of Blaenau Gwent a long list of promises. I'm going to give one promise, that if I'm elected as Member of Parliament for Plaid Cymru in Blaenau Gwent, I promise one thing, I promise to make you proud. Diolch yn fawr iawn.